Hi everyone, Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my privilege today to bring you Wade Simmons. How you doing, Wade?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm great. I'm glad you're here today. So I'm just going to read your biography and then we're going to come to you, okay?
Okay.
So Wade Simmons is a filmmaker from Chicago, Illinois. He's also a funeral service worker with about 15 years worth of experience. He also trained for pro wrestling for 2 years, and his motto is live, love, and don't waste time. I love that, Wade. That's wonderful. So let's start in the beginning. What would you like to talk about today? We have so many things we can cover.
Just overcoming obstacles. I've had many of those, and I'll start with my journey with becoming a funeral director because I've been in the funeral business about almost 15 years, and I did go to school for it, did graduate. But the thing about getting licensed to be a funeral director, it was tough because when I went to mortuary school, I registered like 2016, and then I ended up supposed to have been graduated in 2017, but I ended up not doing well in the program, so I had to start over. And then I started over and eventually got out. But the problem was at the end of school, we had this exit exam because a lot of people may not know, but to be a funeral director, it's kind of almost like being a lawyer. It's not a bar exam, but it's a national board exam.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of the mortuary colleges have a test before the test.
Oh, okay.
So it took me quite a while to pass the test before the test. And so I was spending like 7 months after mortuary school trying to pass the test and wasn't passing it. So I'm like, you know what? In case this don't work out, I'm gonna probably try to look to do something else. So I looked into being like a veterinarian, and I'm like, I went to the animal hospital to go see all the sick animals, and I was like, you know what? I just can't. I don't know if I could do this. I know a lot of people say you want to be a mortician, but you couldn't deal with sick. Like it's a difference. But
It,
so what ended up happening was I decided to go to film school. And as soon as I registered for film school, I ended up passing the funeral director part of the test. It was crazy. And then after I graduated film school, I went back and passed the embalming side.
oh,
So it's just funny how sometimes in life you have these obstacles and it just works out at a certain time.
I always say that, Wade, when I do my motivational speaking, I always say, never look at failures as a failure. They're actually a good thing because it
Yeah.
either redirects you to something new. It just says, nope, that's not the path for you. There's a better plan. Or it just means you have to recalibrate and refix what you're doing, and then you can go forward. So I always say, if you're going to do that, just keep going, persevere, something better's on the horizon, right?
Yeah, I believe it was really an odd story because I remember the owner of the funeral home saying, why would you go back to school and you haven't even took care of this? But I'm like, I'm a man of faith and I trust God. I'm like, I listen to my instincts, and it's just funny how things work out.
It
And,
is,
and
but it always works out for the best, right?
yeah, and the funny thing about it is like right after film school too, not only did I pass the mortuary exam, but I ended up wanting to do a documentary on professional wrestling. And that's how I ended up training for it. I went to make a documentary and ended up getting trained for it.
Oh, that's fantastic. So there's another thing that you tried. And the main thing is that you tried. You never know where it'll take you, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I love that, Wade, honestly. So that was where you went through some obstacles and you persevered and it shifted you to a different thing. Now you have all these things in your toolbox and you're able to use those now. So what are we doing today, Wade?
So now I own my own mortuary company. I also own my own small production company. And then I
Oh,
just last year I started like a news media company, but I haven't done it. I don't like to be honest with you, like I know what I want to do with it, but I'm just trying to make sure that I do it like I don't just want to like half-heartedly do it. And maybe I kind of jumped out a little too early, but I felt like the need to start that because I would come across different people sharing their stories and stuff. And I noticed like with the Chicago Sun-Times and stuff like that, like I've tried to do things with them and some other places, and like they just certain stories they don't want.
oh,
And I even had a news writer tell me like, "Well, I don't really think your story worth telling." And so
oh.
I'm like, you know what? I just do my own thing.
And I think when you're creative and you're building things. I want to say first to you, you're still quite young. You've got a long way to go and you've done a lot already. So well done. I'm quite impressed. And that's why we had you on the show. And then now you're a filmmaker, and I've had filmmakers on the show, and you're all very creative and you have your own ideas. And some advice that I heard from others is stay your path. Just stay your path, because if it's good to have opinions of other people, but you want to keep your creativity alive. So
Yeah.
make sure you don't change your entire being. Does that make sense, Wade?
Yeah, I totally got where you're going, and I really appreciate that because that's also been my experience too. Because like when I first started, I remember when I was in film school, we were talking about like pitching shows to like networks and stuff. And I remember my teacher telling me like, "Look, you're a young black man from Chicago and you work in a funeral home. You have a really interesting experience." And he was like, "Why don't you make your own thing?" And so from that, like I stopped focusing on trying to pitch and just started focusing on funding my own stuff because to me, I think that it's nice to have freedom to create the types of things you want to create.
Agreed. And that's why I do my show, honestly, Wade, because I'm doing a show that I wanted to help people bring their stories forward, bring their companies forward, help them along their path to success. And you know what? I've met some great people that are doing a great job, and most of them have overcome adversity somewhere in their lives. And so
Yeah.
they're prepared to share those stories just like you did. And I'm here to say, hey, what's your story? Let's bring it forward. So it all works around, right?
Yeah. And I feel that life is really interesting because like I know that I spent 13 years of my life working at a funeral home in Chicago. I started in high school. So I was with them for 13 years. And
Wow.
then I ended up getting married in 2023. And once I got married, my wife, she's from Missouri. So we were back and forth. So I ended up just branching out doing my own thing. But it's been quite an experience. The journey of being an entrepreneur has been up and down, but I think that the beauty of it is we can't be afraid to take risks. And I learned that if nobody else is going to take a chance on you, got to take a chance on yourself. But you also have to be realistic because everybody has setbacks, everybody has trials, but it's just a constant hurdle of overcoming them. And I borrow a quote from a friend of mine from pro wrestling. He always says that look at everything as a journey and not a destination.
Oh, I like that. That's very good. Your friend's got wise advice. Wade, your journey has been, you've had a few journeys along the way, and you tried something and it bumped you another way and it bumped you another way. Now, some people, as soon as they jump in, end up somewhere and they stay there forever. But I find people like yourself, because you're creative and because you're on a path of learning about yourself, you actually get to learn a lot of things. Now, let's circle back to the funeral home. So now you had some toolbox things in there. When you're doing your filming and you're creating, do you use any of those things that happen through the funeral home?
Sometimes, yeah, because like my very first self, my first job in the film industry was I was a producer. So it's funny that I didn't direct, I didn't write, I produced. And so I'm really appreciative to the opportunity because when I got a chance to produce, I had a chance to kind of see the bigger part of the production. And so what I learned from that to tie it into funeral service, it's like basically when you think about being a funeral director, right? You meet with a family, you arrange dates, times, locations, almost the same as being a filmmaker, a film producer. And I realized that like being in a funeral business, you're telling somebody's story. In
That's
the
right.
film industry, you're storytelling. So it has some similarities in that aspect.
Okay. Oh, that's good. And again, that's your toolbox, right? Now, you're doing filmmaking. Have you done a film yet, or is that still in
Yeah,
the embryo
I
stage?
have I have probably almost 20 short films out already.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So where would we find a film of Wade Simmons that we could see?
So so I put a lot of my work on Vimeo, and I chose Vimeo just to do something a little different because I know YouTube is good, but I like Vimeo platform a little better. So I just
Oh,
wanted to try something different.
oh, sure. So as long as you're on a platform that brings the film ahead, that's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah,
Now,
I love it.
When you do the films, do you work with actors, like new actors, or do you bring people in? What do you
A
do?
little bit of both. So I do work with actors. I use a combination of actors and sometimes friends. And I'm gonna tell you how did that start, because when I first wanted to do my web series, I had already had the characters in mind. And so I knew a certain person that kind of fit what I was looking for. So I casted a young lady that I grew up with in church to play one person, and then I used actors to play everybody else. But then sometimes when actors didn't show up, I used people that I knew to fill in. So it happens.
Yeah, it does in this world, doesn't it? I do filming as well in my show, and it happens. People, they don't show up sometimes, or things happen in life, and it is what it is. You just roll with it, right? But as you
Yeah.
said, you have to, the show must go on, right, Wade? So you
And
find
and
someone else.
and it's interesting because like with me, I've been blessed with God with the gift of improvising. And I have a friend of mine, Ben Hart. He works with me on a lot of my projects. He like helped direct the first episode, which is called Repeat. And I actually based it off me failing in mortuary school. And then it was cool. I'll send it to you. I
Oh,
never released that one, but it's funny that I never released that one. But Ben, he worked with me, and it's funny because like Ben, he's more very structured, like stick to the script. And I think that everybody has a special function. Everybody's kind of way of thinking brings something different to the table, and that's what makes collaboration unique. But I like working with Ben because like he keeps me grounded. But sometimes when it comes to improvising, that's more my thing, because again, from working in the funeral business, you learn quick that you have to improvise, because a lot of times when you're servicing the family and things go a certain way, you have to think quick. And you have to anticipate anything, because unfortunately, like that's the one business where you don't want anything to go wrong. So I think from working in that field, it helped me to be really quick on my feet in a lot of things.
that's great. I would think, yes, in the funeral business, not only do you have to think on your feet, but you are dealing with people with emotions. So you
Yeah.
have to be empathetic, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to understand what they're going through, and you have to be
Yeah.
sensitive. And guess what? While you're doing your filming, you've got people who are emotional. They're a roller
Yeah.
coaster ride. You have to be patient and be empathetic of what they're going through. Yeah, I like that. I know. So you've done a few films. Can you tell us any other ones that you've done? I know you did that one. Can you tell us a little bit about another one?
Sure, I do have a documentary out that I did on Rago Brothers Funeral Home. He was actually my teacher in mortuary school. He's also an accountant, so he let me do a documentary on his family. And to be honest with you, I'm glad you asked, because for the last few years I've been wanting to move more into documentary filmmaking.
Oh, okay.
Only because I'm starting to like documentaries a little more than narrative films, as far as making them, because like to me, you get real people, you get real stories, and everybody has an interesting story. And I love making documentaries because you get to interview people and what you do, but you also get to hear about people's past, their present, their future, and the things that they went through. And to me, I think that's a lot. To me, it's a little more fun working with people in that way. I don't know what it is, but I just found that I like making documentaries more.
I like that way, because I have to agree with you. I think when I did Success Diaries, it was about real people. When I say that, real people, I certainly used to watch television once in a while, but I don't watch TV anymore. I watch YouTube. I'm a YouTube junkie. And I do, because it's real people. I can relate to real
Yeah.
people. I know movie stars did their time and they're doing their work and they're great. But you know what? It's not my world. Mine, I like the world of real people, just like you said, Wade. When you're doing filmmaking and you're doing documentaries, these are people who lived it, did it, are
Yeah.
factual, and you get to create something from something very personal. And as you said, it's relatable, right?
Yeah. And everybody has a unique story. And that's why,
Yeah.
like, to me, I really enjoyed it. And I thank my teacher in film school, Charles, for that, because we had this class where we had to make a documentary. And I'm not going to lie, like, growing up, I wasn't the biggest fan of the documentary. But after I took that class and we made a documentary on tipping, and we went to a restaurant and we filmed the workers, and it was fun. And
Oh,
I
good.
loved it. And like to me, it's, you know what? It's like what you said, like about how sometime in life, you know what you want to do, but once you start doing the thing, you find your niche. And
Yeah.
sometimes you'll be like, I want to be a filmmaker, but what types of films? And I'm like, you know what? I have a lot of narrative films that I've made, but I really love documentaries. And I actually did, like about 2 years ago, I did a film premiere at the Music Box Theater, and it was a documentary about my web series. And
Oh,
to be honest with you, it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it, but I appreciated the people for coming out. And so I decided that I'm going to finish it and redo it, and I'm going to put it out eventually.
excellent. And you know what? I think it's just going to be amazing because, again, it's not that it didn't make it. It just was, it needed some tweaking. It was the right path, but not the right direction, right? So sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to tweak things. Never look at any of your projects like failures. They're not, they're experiences. And when you say you're a filmmaker, you're doing your creativity and you're going to have your ups and downs, and that's the fun of it. That's learning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
I've done
I
some
love,
crazy things too.
yeah. And that's the thing that it's funny because, like, when we look at a lot of people who have been successful, like sometimes I read about people like Walt Disney a lot, Spike Lee, George Lucas, and we'll find that sometimes a lot of people look at these people like doing so much great things, but a lot of those things that people do are things that they just stumbled into. Yeah,
That's true. You're right, Wade. You've got it. And you keep persevering because yes, sometimes you just all of a sudden you stumble over something, right?
yeah.
Excellent. Now, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
God willing, in 5 years, I definitely see myself being a funeral director in multiple states, being definitely a documentarian and just putting out documentaries and just helping people tell their stories and just hopefully working with other filmmakers and other filmmakers working with me and maybe probably doing a little bit of owning a little bit of real estate.
Oh, sure. I know where you're going with that. You want the big pool and the big house and the big cars. I get
Well,
it.
not so much like I'm one of the people that I don't have to have like a
That's
mansion or nothing. Like I'm more of a simple guy, but it's just I wouldn't mind like owning property and stuff.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. You know what? I have no doubt that you're going to be successful at what you do, no matter what your goals and your plans are. You're really quite a creative, interesting person. You're likable. I know you're going to go extremely far. Honestly, Wade. Now, what's the name of your film company?
So my film company is Wade in the Water Productions. I
Hey,
wasn't gonna put my name on it to be honest, but I had a coworker from the funeral home, Miss Rosina. She used to call me Wade in the Water all the time. Because I'm like, since it's Wade and I love water, why not just Wade in the Water? I don't think I would ever put my name on any more companies though. That one was fitting though.
oh, I think it's great. Absolutely. And take pride in it. I know you have pride in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And now your funeral companies, so you're planning on doing many of them, running them yourself?
Yeah, I think to me, I would probably want to own my own businesses and work with myself because I'm all about helping other people provide opportunities, and I want to be the type of business owner to where when I see other people growing and coming up, like I don't look at them as competition. I want to see other people grow and learn too because I've learned that when working with people, like I always said that to me, it's not really competition. I think what people have to understand is that, especially in the funeral business, is that families are going to go where they want to go.
Yeah.
Families are going to go to who they're comfortable with. And to me, I think that I support all funeral homes that's doing the right thing. I believe that people should go where they're comfortable with. Like, even with me, like, I work for a funeral home and I have my own mortuary company, but I don't like overly advertise myself to people. Like I don't force it. If you want to use me and you want me to help you, I'm there. If not, I support you anyway.
Yeah.
I think to me, it's because in that business, I feel like people should be comfortable with who they go to.
I agree with that. I agree. Well done. I must say, Wade, you're really quite a young entrepreneur and you've got a lot of plans in the future. And I can tell that you're a likable person. I know that I said that before, but people are going to want to grow with you. And I think that's a wonderful trait that you have.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You're a mentor for other people. So take pride in that. I can tell.
Yeah, I love people. I think that even though sometimes there are some people that can be difficult, I learned that everybody has a story, everybody has a reason, and that's why I learned that it's really good to encourage people, but even in encouraging people, sometimes it's good to listen to them because I was just like before I came on the podcast, I was just thinking like today how like everybody has their season to go through things and to thrive and win and to go through things, but we got to learn to be more empathetic toward one another because like I put it like this because going through things is not fun. And but when you come across people that are going through things and sometimes maybe they kind of seem hopeless, to never sometimes like you cheer them up, but you also have to be realistic enough to say, okay, I understand this may be a difficult point, and we hopefully we can get through it, but we can try to get through it together. I think that's the better attitude of because sometimes you try to cheer people up and it's just not working. And I realize that's because sometimes we have to be realistic enough to know that people actually have feelings and everybody don't look at life the same. Like it's always a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's okay for people to kind of grieve at the time.
That's an excellent piece of advice to give people. What I hear you saying is that people have to go through their own paths. You can certainly support them, but they still have to walk on those coals by themselves, don't they? And you
Yeah,
can support them, but they have to do it at their own pace when they're ready. So that was
yeah.
excellent advice. Honestly, that was
I
excellent.
learned that because like sometimes I've had friends they cheer me up, and I've had friends that I cheer, and sometimes it just doesn't seem like it's working. But I realize that's because we have to realize that everybody has, their issues in life, but they'll get through it. But it's just our minds is it's a powerful thing. Perspective is everything, but also just being able to relate to people and let them know because it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. Everybody have issues and problems. It's just how you overcome them.
I
And
agree.
sometimes overcoming them is just realizing that there is a problem, but what is the solution to it? Because everything in life pretty much is a problem solution. There's always one or the other, but it's just being able to acknowledge that there may be an issue and we have to find a solution to it.
What an excellent handle you have on life. Excellent. Honestly, you have a very positive attitude, and you're going to take that when you go into your future. Now, I have another question for you.
Sure.
We've done very well today, and I loved having you on today. Would you come back and see me another time?
Absolutely. Anytime you want me, I'll be right here.
Wait, I would like that because I know whatever the journey is, I'm going to be able to bring you back and we're going to see the next success story that you have. I would absolutely be privileged to have you come back.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Now, uh, if someone wanted to reach you today, what's the best place to get you?
You can reach me on Facebook, Wade Simmons. I'm a chatterbox. Feel free to reach out. Or you can reach me on Instagram, Wade Jedi99. I rarely do things on Instagram, but if you message me, I'll answer.
Perfect. I'm going to make sure all of your information's here too, Wade. So no worries. Okay. We'll have your biography and we'll have all your information on here. So it's not a problem. We'll make sure everybody can reach out to you quickly. So to everyone, this was Wade Simmons. We're very privileged to have you on today, Wade. Thank you for your time.
Anytime.
Absolutely. And to everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Please subscribe to my channel. I hope you're having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye now.